Living water loves to move, to dance and flow and spiral and cascade. In nature, water is never stagnant. It's always cycling through phases of solid, liquid, and gas, always moving from one part of the hydrological cycle to another, weaving all worldly water together in subterranean aquifers and atmospheric weather patterns. Even in a placid lake, water is transitioning through subtle subterranean flow patterns, cycling through the bodies of fish and kelp, evaporating and condensing in shifting phases. Stagnation is antithetical to the nature of water, and it's one of the main ways that water loses its crystallinity and goes dormant. So when water is bottled or stored in a tank, it starts to go to sleep and lose its electromagnetic vitality. The same can be said of water that's forced to move in unnatural ways. Pressurized pipes and right ankles also devitalize water, and yet that's the water that most folks drink. So one of the best ways to restore water's life force energy is to mimic its movement patterns through nature. Because when water molecules flow together, they bond together in living crystalline geometries that align the molecular dipoles into more symmetrical coherence that can channel vibration, frequency, and vitality. Movement is medicine, and when we drink water that has moved in natural flow forms, it brings more hydroelectric energy into our cells, awakening our natural beauty, immunity, and health. The luminaries and pioneers of flow forms, these nature-mimicking water technologies, were Victor Schauberger, Rudolf Steiner, John Wilkes, Theodor Schwenk, and Johann Grander. Schauberger was a visionary water genius who recognized that water's spiral vortexes generate energy and vivacity in nature. Theodor Schwenk observed and recorded water's rhythmic patterns of meandering and circulation systems and how those patterns interact with subtle influences in water's environment. John Wilkes drew from both of these predecessors' works to create the first flow forms by harnessing geometry and sculptures that created rhythmic pulsations of water in cascades. Natural action technologies devices all work on these principles. They encourage water to flow in a rhythmic, spiraling way that structures, activates, and revives it, just like spring water flowing through a mountain stream. When it's allowed complete freedom of movement, in a stream, for example, water dashes over rocks on its way downhill. And whenever it meets an obstacle, it curls inward, forming inner spirals. This is one of the ways that nature gathers energy and brings life to water. Natural action devices create environments where water can cascade in this exact way, as though over stones in a river, curling into innumerable tiny vortices that charge the north and south poles of each H2O molecule with electromagnetism, and align them into dynamic communities of molecular clusters that function a lot like memory cells in an intelligent liquid matrix of conductivity. Through this kind of movement, living water is in constant unification and expression of polar energies, positive and negative charges, like a liquid crystal battery that stores electromagnetism. It's truly a unique allotrope of water that has such dynamic properties that, although invisible to the naked eye, can be measured in a lab and can definitely be felt by your body. Just like us, water needs to breathe. You couldn't breathe if you couldn't move your diaphragm, and water can't breathe when it's stagnant either. As it moves, it exchanges gases like oxygen and nitrogen and carbon dioxide. And after water passes through a flow form, it's significantly higher in oxygen and can actually sustain this oxygenated state for longer than by any other oxygenating process. So let's keep in mind that even though filtration is important, water really needs revitalization because of how damaged, denatured, and dormant most water is. Filtration does not bring water back to life. Purified water is still comatose. For drinking water to impart vitality to your human body of water, it has to be more than just clean. It needs to be alive.